The US President Joe Biden is heading towards Britain for talks with Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. They're expected to discuss the latest developments in the war in Ukraine. Let's go to Kimberly Halkett, our White House correspondent. Now, given the UK Prime Minister is one of the critics of Biden's recent decision to supply cluster bombs to Ukraine, this might make for quite an awkward visit.
Yeah, there's no question that this is going to be a difficult conversation for the U.S. president. He is set to leave his beach home momentarily, where he will be traveling to the United Kingdom. He will be having his 6th meeting with the U.K. Prime Minister, but it will be an uncomfortable one compared to some of those previous meetings, given the fact that the U.S. president has gone ahead, even overriding U.S. law, to approve cluster munitions for use in Ukraine. This is not just unpopular with the UK Prime Minister, but also with Germany, with Spain, and, of course, human rights groups and even members of the president's own Democratic Party, given the fact that it's shown to be disproportionately adverse to civilians and harm civilians long after conflicts end. And so that is the reason for the opposition. Still, the problem for the U.S. president is that he made a commitment to Ukraine that the United States would support it for the long haul. And the problem is that the United States has run out of conventional weaponry, and there simply is a shortage. And so that is the explanation he is going to give to the UK Prime Minister, but certainly this is one that may not sit well. So this is really a pre-meeting, if you will, in advance of a broader meeting that, of course, will take place with NATO leaders in Lithuania in the coming days.
Yeah, so tell us a little more about Biden's plans and that NATO summit. What more are we expecting?
Yeah, well, even before the NATO summit, on the heels of that meeting with Rishi Sunak, there will be a meeting with King Charles that will happen immediately after. And this is also going to be very interesting because the U.S. president is going to have to delicately balance with King Charles, who typically has an apolitical role, the issue of climate change, which, of course, is very important to the king. And so how they will discuss that in terms of that apolitical role is going to be watched very closely. Then the president will travel to Lithuania, where a couple of issues are going to be at the forefront. Of course, Ukraine. The U.S. president is going to be trying to get more support for weapons for Ukraine, support from those leaders, and again, those uncomfortable conversations about cluster bombs. As well, there is also going to be some lobbying for the case for Sweden to join the NATO alliance, and also questions about whether or not there's a pathway for Ukraine itself to join the alliance. So these are all going to be very delicate conversations that will be taking place both formally and on the sidelines. And we should also point out that after that, the U.S. president will be traveling for yet another summit, the first of its kind for the Biden administration. He'll be traveling to Helsinki in Finland, where he will be meeting with the leaders of the Nordic countries there. They'll be having a summit where they'll be talking about the concerns of Russia and China and their growing influence in the Arctic regions.
Thank you for that. Our White House correspondent, Kimberly Halkett there.